Now, the common denominator in that tale of the tape is our next guest, though. Very pleased to say he's a Brooklyner, but he's in Manchester for the fight, going to commentate for prime time, I understand. It's Paulie Malignaggi, or the self-professed Twitter king as well. We all follow him on Twitter, and he joins us now on Skype. Paulie, good evening to you, sir. Are you well?
I'm good, guys. Good to be on.
You're just recovering from your title defence as well?
Yes. I'm recovering. I had a slight fracture underneath the right thumb, so I'm in a cast right now, but I should be good by the new year.
So, Paulie, you fought, of course, Ricky in 2008 in Las Vegas. What were your thoughts when you heard the news in September that he was coming back?
I was a little bit I was a little bit confused because I wasn't sure. For a while, they were talking about it, and there was a lot of rumors about whether he would be back or not. But finally, when the official announcement came, I had mixed feelings. From one part, I wasn't sure if the layoff would have done him good. But then from the other part, I started to think, you know what? Ricky was a guy who it gave us many exciting fights. And from that aspect, it's always good for boxing for a guy like that to be around. But also, if he was a guy who gets hit a lot to take, he kind of was a guy who takes one to give one, so to speak, or takes one to give two even, So had he been fighting the past 3 years, maybe we wouldn't have him around now. So maybe the 3-year break gives us a chance to have him around now for a little bit instead of maybe we would have had him for 3 years, but he'd be gone by now, So yeah. You kind of got to take the positives as well as the negatives, And so I had mixed feelings, but as the momentum picks up steam and the hype machine builds towards the fight, there's a lot of positive reviews, and I think people are taking more to it that Ricky is officially back.
Yeah, inevitable, really, isn't it? We said about the people, can you not order the fight? People may have had their reservations at the start, but now that it's fight week, you sort of have to watch it. We'll talk about Senchenko then, Paulie. You're going to commentate on this fight. Tactically, technically, how do you see these guys matching up, having been in the ring with both of them?
Well, styles make fights, One thing I realized when I fought Senchenko, I saw his height and I thought, man, I had some problems with Amir Khan with this kind of height. I wonder how it is I'm going to attack this guy, And then as I saw a video on Senchenko, I saw the big difference with him and Amir Khan is the foot speed. I mean, Senchenko is a technically very good boxer, just like Amir Khan is a technically very good boxer. But Senchenko is so slow on his feet that it makes a big difference between him and Amir Khan. So I was able to use my movement, and he was just never able to catch up, With Ricky, I mean, the slow feet on Senchenko may bode well for him too, because he may not have to work as hard to cut the distance. If he can get around Senchenko's jab, Senchenko has a very good jab, but if he can get around Senchenko's jab, it won't be hard to find Senchenko because, again, he's not very fast on his feet. So there you have the style matchup. It'll be Ricky trying to bull rush his way in and trying to get inside the jab. And if he can do that, Senchenko is a big welterweight, but he's not a very physical welterweight. So it can be a little bit, his size can be a little bit deceiving. If Ricky gets on the inside, I can actually see him having a lot of success, even though Senchenko is a physically bigger man.
So Paulie, I think that the key to success for Ricky is really head movement, isn't it? Because we know that Ricky's feet are faster than Senchenko's. We've seen that. Yeah. He likes to come in fast, but he does come in straight lines, whereas Senchenko is more flat-footed. Now, I think that if Ricky can get that head moving, slip inside that jab of Senchenko, we know what he does. He double jabs, comes with a cross. So I think that Ricky really, if he's going to close that gap, he really does need to move his head more, doesn't he?
Yeah, and one key that I took in the Senchenko fight, what I realized, is make him pay for throwing his jab. If you're gonna make Senchenko miss the jab, make him pay for it, Yeah. And if you can make a jabber hesitate to throw the jab, you really are gonna have his number, Because again, Senchenko's not very physical. Once you get past the jab and you're on the inside of him, he really doesn't have a big arsenal inside. There's nothing really there, So and that's what Ricky wants to be. That's his wheelhouse, so to speak, So once Ricky gets inside there, using the foot speed and making Senchenko pay for the missed jabs, you'll have him second guessing himself in a lot of ways, and then it'll be Ricky Hatton's fight from there, So that'll be the key, really. If Senchenko gets confidence and starts to land the jab well, he can set up his own offense off of that well. But if Ricky doesn't allow Senchenko to gain that confidence off his jab, I mean, I could see Ricky really making Senchenko uncomfortable as the fight wears on.
Paulie, one thing looked interesting online. Look back at one of your interviews before fighting Ricky Hatton, and you said then he's a 30-year-old man. He won't change his spots, or an old dog doesn't learn new tricks. Do you expect anything different from Ricky as he's a little bit older? Will the pressure fighting style, will he have to adapt that slightly, or will he not?
You know what? I don't think you're going to see much of a change in Ricky. You know, I think I've seen some interviews where he said he's gone back to the Billy Graham style of training or with his new trainer, Bob Shannon, you know. So I think I think Ricky has come to realize what got him to the top, what made him successful, what made him loved by the fans. It was that style, that kind of aggressive, in-your-face kind of style, you know. And, of course, that comes with some risks. I mean, if you don't move your head, you're going to walk into some punches, you know, with that kind of style. But at the end of the day, that's what makes Ricky Hatton who he was. It made him famous. It made him the big name that he is. And it also won him the world titles that he won. So at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to see much of a change in Ricky's style. You'll see you see him adapt in some ways, I think, to the guy in front of him, to Senchenko. But all in all, I think we're going to have the same style of Ricky Hatton that we've always seen. And that's the style of Ricky Hatton that we've grown to love as well.
So Paulie, also, Ricky Hatton only ever boxed at welterweight once against Collazo. Now, he really struggled in that fight. As the fight wore on, he started really well, but as the fight wore on, the physical strength of Collazo started to take over, and Ricky really did struggle in the back end of the contest. Do you think that this could be a factor here against another big welterweight in Senchenko?
I'm not sure. Again, Senchenko is not a physical welterweight. He's big, but he's not a physical welterweight. At no point in the fight when I fought him did I feel Senchenko's size. He just doesn't impose it. He just doesn't have a style where he imposes that massive size of his. He's a big welterweight. I mean, for me, he was the biggest guy I ever fought, but physically, he wasn't physical at all. You know, he didn't fight like that. So I'm not sure if that size is going to affect Ricky so much unless Ricky finds himself getting hit a lot, you know? I do think Collazo's a better welterweight than Senchenko. You know, since Collazo's a friend of mine and I have sparred him, and he's a tricky guy and he's a crafty guy. So I think Ricky went into that fight with a little bit maybe not knowing too much about Collazo, or maybe not knowing as much as he should have about the guy. But at the end of the day, I don't think Ricky Hatton can get back to the light welterweight division. I mean, as you get older, you put on some pounds, you put on some weight, you know. So I do think at this point in time, especially after a layoff, the welterweight division is the best place for Ricky Hatton, because I think if he shrunk himself down to light welter, I think he'd be cutting into his energy level, you know.
Yeah, we're talking about losing 4.5 stone in English money, or in American poundage, over 50 pounds. I think he's shed. What about the prediction then, Paulie? Who wins this, and how do you think?
I think Ricky wins. I think first and foremost, the thing that stuck out to me when they made the fight is Ricky's tough to beat in England. I mean, the fanfare is amazing, and you know, for a guy like Senchenko who's never fought outside his house in front of a hostile crowd. I mean, he's fought outside of his house, but never in front of a hostile crowd. Yeah. This is about as close to the most hostile as you're gonna get, you know, fighting Hatton in Manchester, you know. So you know, it's gonna play on his mind a little bit, especially for a guy who got used to the comforts of home. And then again, the one thing I said about Senchenko before I fought him, he had never been in with world-class opposition prior to me. And again, I mean, the only world-level fighter he got in there with was me, and I was pretty one-sided. Yeah. I think that's going to play on his mind a little bit. He may come in with a go-for-broke attitude, with a nothing-to-lose attitude, because he's already lost his world title. But in the end, I think Ricky's experience, and Ricky's a formidable guy to be up against at this point, especially at home. And I think in the end he'll have enough to win the fight, if not by late stoppage, a unanimous decision.
Well, just what Spence and I want to know, what people in Britain, boxing fans, want to know, Paul, if he does get that late stoppage, if he gets the victory, the W, Paulie Malignaggi, he next on the list. Would you fight Ricky again, and where would it take place?
Anytime you have a chance to avenge a loss, you know, for a competitor, it's always something that will interest a competitor, you know. So I'm a competitor just like any other fighter, you know. So a chance to avenge that loss obviously would interest me. I want to see Ricky win. I want to see Ricky look good, and so if it generates the sort of buzz in the United States as he is starting to attain here with a good win, I think he'll generate that kind of buzz, and I think it's possible that we can make the rematch. Obviously, I'm interested in it. Like I said, avenging a loss always interests me.
Could you avenge that loss? You're confident?
We talk about where the fight would be. You know, I would prefer it in New York, you know, or in the United States in the new Barclays Arena. It's a state-of-the-art arena. Yeah. I would be willing to even. You know, I'll say it on the air. I'll be willing to give a 1-on-1 package deal where if I beat him in New York, I'll come back to England for the third fight. You know, because it would be our second fight over in New York. You know, so you know, it would eventually we would have to negotiate and agree to a deal. But you know, right now I'm pulling for Ricky to look good and do his thing, and more so than for the boxing. You know, I've said it before, even for himself. You know, he's had a lot of demons to overcome, and I think Saturday night is an important fight for not just Ricky Hatton the boxer, but for Ricky Hatton the man. So I wish him luck. I wish him well on Saturday night.
It certainly is, and now you've got a connection with Ricky Hatton. We understand. Look at what you're wearing there as well. It's the sky blue of Manchester City.
I've got the scarf on for tonight's game.
You're off to see
the Balotelli jersey. Let me see if you guys can see the Balotelli jersey. Hold on.
Yep, go for it. We can. Clear. Is it Balotelli, the Italian connection there? Is that what you're supporting Balotelli?
Exactly. That's him and Antonio Cassano are my 2 favorite players on the national team. So, you know, obviously the loudmouth guys. But, you know, I hope he plays tonight. I'm not sure if Mancini's going to play him, but yeah, that's the Man City connection me and Ricky have tonight, for sure, yeah.
So maybe the City of Manchester Stadium a fight in the future against Ricky with Balotelli walking you out to the ring. Who knows? We could see that down the line.
That would be great. But, you know, I don't know if he'll go against his Man City fan, Ricky Hatton, either, though, you know?
Right, well, yeah, indeed.
I would try.
Yeah. Well, Paulie, we appreciate your time, really do, and we look forward to hearing your comments on the fight as well, and we'll catch up with you hopefully in the future, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Paulie.
Take care.